Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an organizer and may now speak with other organizers or panelists on the line. When you are ready for your attendees to hear you, press the Start Broadcast button on the GoToWebinar control panel.
All right, well, I hope everyone can hear me. I suppose we should get started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Displaying Your Research, Creating an APA-Style MS PowerPoint Presentation. My name is Jesse Laris, and I have been an instructor with Argosy University Online since 2009 and a librarian with Argosy University Twin Cities since 2001. Before we get started, I would like to make a few announcements. This webinar is being recorded, so I've placed everyone on mute. If you have a question, please feel free to ask it by using the chat function. This is what I call a mini webinar because it is approximately 15 minutes long. After the 15 minutes are over, I will allow 5 minutes for questions. If your question is not answered or if you have follow-up questions after the presentation, please feel free to contact me through the information listed on the screen. Also, if you have a particular webinar that you would like to see the library conduct, please feel free to forward your request. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar will cover PowerPoint presentations. And one of the, if you've listened to any of my presentations up to this point, one thing that I've covered is the idea of information literacy. Information literacy is the ability to locate, evaluate, and use information effectively. And there are 5 characteristics of an information literate person. This evening we will be talking about the last 2 characteristics, effectively accomplishing a specific purpose, in this case using information in a PowerPoint presentation, and understand the economic, legal, and social issues. And essentially making sure that you cite the information that you have in your PowerPoint presentation. So what are some of the reasons that, what are some of the basics that we need to know about PowerPoint presentations? Well, first, you have to know your audience. What is your audience looking for? That will really guide how you present or what type of information that you're going to present. Is this a PowerPoint that you just have to submit to your instructor? Is this something that you're doing for a church program or maybe something for work? These are all factors that are going to determine what type of presentation that you will be conducting. It's not exactly a paper, but it should include an introduction, a body, a conclusion, and some references. As best you can, try to limit your slides to 25 if at all possible. Your reference slide can be more. This is basically the way that this webinar is presented is with you having in mind that you're doing this for an actual assignment. What you want to do is be brief. Let the visuals take guide the audience through. And if you have to put information in there, just summarize your main points by using bullets. You need to cite any information that is not yours. We're going to talk a lot about citing this evening as far as PowerPoints are concerned. And then it is a visual medium. Make sure that you do use a background color or pictures. Use some transitions. We won't get into a lot of this, unfortunately, but hopefully you'll have time to explore on your own. And then ensure that whatever pictures you might use, that they do relate to the actual subject. And I'm going to show you guys an example that I put together for a Communications 106 course that I actually teach. All right, so what I want to do now is talk about the whole background piece. So once you're starting your PowerPoint presentation, instead of just having the plain old white background, excuse me, you can go up into design here and you can change to one of these many designs that are used, that are templates that you can use. So that's one way to add a little spice to your presentation. Excuse me. And then once you've got those pages set up, you want to look at your PowerPoint deck and determine, what exactly it is comprised of. Typically, what you'll have is a title page, an introduction to the topic. You'll have your content slides, and then a conclusion, and then a reference page as well. And as you can see over here, I've got circled some of the different displays or templates that you'll have to use. You'll want your title slide There's the title and the contents. That's what you see here. And then there's where you can put two contents side by side. There's also comparison as well, but there are quite a few things, quite a few designs that you can choose from. All right, so on your title page, we talked about starting with a template. You want to title your presentation. You put your name in there, your course number, your date, and then typically your instructor's name is optional. Some of the components of your presentation. Any good presentation, like any good book, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Your introduction should grab the attention of the audience. It's there to inform. You can put in, you can be dramatic or use humor, but it should be used appropriately. In the middle, that's where you're going to have your important components, all that important information. But you need to limit what you present on the screen, and also be aware of time. Each slide should take about 1 to 2 minutes to present. And then your conclusion is there to summarize or restate the information. All right, so let's talk about images. Now, because PowerPoint comes with a stock set of images called clip art, you should be able to use them within your PowerPoint presentation without worrying about citing them. All right, because that's one of the main things, is making sure that you cite that information. If you go out to the internet and you just start pulling in slides or whatever, that's something that's kind of a no-no, or slides in pictures. That's a no-no essentially with APA. You can't really do that. However, there are websites out there which are public domain websites where you can use that information as long as you cite the source. So here's an example. I'm just going to click on this and it should take me out to the website. One of those is publicdomainpictures.net. And so we can go in here and type in library and see what kind of information we get. And see, we've got all these things. So maybe I want to use this picture of a book here. I've got an author and I've got a title of that, and as long as you put in, in the brackets that it's an illustration or it's a stock footage or a stock photo, excuse me, and then link the information back here, you should be able to use that in a PowerPoint presentation. Excuse me. All right, let's go back here. And here's another example. I'm not going to go in there, but it's just another example of something you can use. All right, so if you do use pictures from the internet, you do need to ask permission. So say, for instance, one of the assignments in COM 106 is to create a PowerPoint presentation where you discuss a place where you'd like to go on vacation. And say, for instance, I wanted to vacation in Ireland, and I wanted to get some pictures from Ireland. Maybe I would have to go, maybe I found a bed and breakfast or some type of an inn in Ireland, and I wanted to use a photo from that inn. I would email them and say, hey, there's a photo on your website. Can I borrow it so that I can put it in my in this PowerPoint presentation for an assignment that I have? And they may say yes and they may say no. It does mean that you have to take some time, or it might take some time for them to get back to you. It might mean that they also put you on their mailing list, but at least it's a way for you to use that information or to gain permission to use that information appropriately. All right, so when citing a PowerPoint presentation, you can typically think of it as just like a paper. Right? You want to include both an in-text reference and a reference citation. So you can put in a parenthetical reference, just something in parentheses. You'll want to do that with your graphs and your pictures, so on and so forth, that you might borrow. You want to try to keep that information as close to the text. However, you can resize it so it's smaller. Again, and I'll show you what my COM 106 example looks like here in a minute. You want to include a reference page. That's typically your last slide. And also you want to format it, your reference page, like you would a paper with the hanging indent. And typically what I found is just to, if you go in well, it's not a carriage return, but if you hit enter at the end of the top, the first line, and then space over, that should be good enough. It's hard to get it exactly like APA in a PowerPoint presentation, but you can get close. All right, so what I want to do is show you my example. So For the COM 106 course that I teach, what I've done is put together an example of a PowerPoint presentation to show students how to go about citing appropriately. You can see I'm from Minnesota, and so my ideal vacation, of course, would be to go to the Mall of America. Woohoo! You can see here that I do have a picture of the Mall of America, which I did get off the internet, but I did cite it over here, and I just titled it Flag. This didn't have a title, but I gave it a title, and then I put, this would be my in-text reference, and then in my reference list, I did list that this was this is the flag, so on and so forth. So on my next slide, this is a clip art image, trying to be a little funny about, you know, what Minnesota is all about. I went into a database that we have in the library. This is kind of my introduction to Minnesota, essentially, and found a quote in the database called Culturegrams, and it's just like about states and countries and so on and so forth. And so here's just what the word Minnesota means, and then since it's a direct quote, I have the information that was given as far as the for citations, the year here, and then the paragraph that I took it from. All right, and so talking a little bit more, giving some more information about the Mall of America, you can see here that I've taken this information. I think this is also, it is also from Culturegram, so it's the same type of citation. I did make it a little smaller. It's a direct quote, so I did the paragraph information here. This is clip art. These shirts are clip art, but the stuff that's on the bottom here, the overhead view of the Mall of America and then the facade of the Mall of America, I did also include citation information for both of those pictures. More clip art. This is actually an article that I got out of one of our business journals, our business databases, excuse me, that talks about the Mall of America, just some background information about when it opened, how big it is, so on and so forth. I also went into our criminal justice database, and this is kind of interesting. This is clip art, but what I did with this one was I cropped the image up here and just turned it around, so it's actually the same image. I just kind of repurposed it. But what you can see here is that I used the as cited in function or phrase here because Reynolds gave us this information here. He was actually interviewed by Griffin. So this is him saying that in an interview, a decent-sized city on any given day, so on and so forth. And that's why I also gave, I counted down the paragraphs and did a direct quote with that. One of the things that we have students do is go in and kind of tabulate how much it would cost to go on this vacation, essentially. So I've created a column chart here where I can see how much I've spent on everything, and also a pie chart over here. And if I did this differently, I would just add the percentages here. I forgot to do that when I put it in there. And then I also have an aerial view of the Nickelodeon universe that's at the Mall of America. I've also got other images. You can see I used a lot of images here, and then this is also a word table that was created and then pasted in. So it's just kind of an itinerary for the 3 days we're going to spend there. And then in conclusion, I just talk a little bit about Mall of America, a little joke here because I don't know if you guys are familiar with Minnesota, but there's this place called the Boundary Waters where you can go canoeing and so on and so forth. It's kind of it's kind of the opposition of the Mall of America, you know, which is all suburbia and so on and so forth, and the Boundary Waters, which is all backwoods. So I typically end my presentations with a questions section. But what I really want to show you is this. Well, here's the references section. And these are my references for my pictures. I did separate the two of them, and so all my pictures came from the press room image gallery at the Mall of America, and I put in photograph there to show exactly what they were. And this is stuff that we've kind of gone over already. But here's what I really wanted to show you. What I did in order to gain permission to use these images was I emailed the Mall of America and told them what I was going to use it for, and then I got a response back at the top here that says, you know, hey, thanks for checking with us, go right ahead, right? And I would consider that the go-ahead to use that. Otherwise, if you're just going to Google images and taking stuff off the internet, you want to be careful with that, just because it's something that you don't really have permission to do it. Let's see. Okay, so let's wrap this up. The audience actually dictates the content. It's not exactly a paper, but it has a lot of the same pieces as a paper, with an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. It's a visual. You want to use visuals as much as possible. We didn't talk about SmartArt, but SmartArt is this tool that you can use. It's in Word. I don't know if it's in Excel, but it's also in PowerPoint, where it creates like charts for you, and they're colorful and they look great. Clip art is okay. Most everything else you do need to ask permission for in order to use it. So that is the end of the presentation. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this with this particular presentation, but I will be sending out the link to my presentation, which I will put on YouTube, so you can review this this PowerPoint or this presentation again. I will send out this PowerPoint presentation so you have access to that. And what I will do also is, with all the presentations I've given this evening, I will send out all that content information to you as well, probably sometime tomorrow morning, because that's when I'll probably get that stuff uploaded. So at this time, what I'd like to do is see if anybody has any questions. I don't see any questions in the Ask section here, so let me see if anybody has any in the, let's see, I see one question from Maya Hines. Maya, are you there? Maya, did you have a question?
Hi, Dr. Laris. I have a question. I wanted to know if you're using your own pictures, what is the expectation of citing that?
Oh, that's a good question, which I'm not sure if I have the answer to. I'm assuming that if you use your own pictures, you would probably just want to add like a citation underneath, like a note that says, from author's personal collection. You know what, Maya?
Okay.
Let me research that, and I can get back to you, because I'm assuming when you put in a table, I guess what I was thinking is it's kind of like when you put a table into a Word document, you have to put like a note underneath or something like that that says what it actually is. You probably use the term figure, and then you would you probably number that figure, but I'm not, I want to look into that a little bit more and just get you a better answer. So what I'm going to do is, I've got your email. I'll look into that, and then I can send that information to you, because I don't want to give you the wrong information.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. All right, are there any more questions? And I know that other students have done that in the past, where I've got PowerPoint presentations where they've cited or where they've used their own pictures, which is great if you have that. Okay, let's see. Well, I really don't see any other questions here. Let me take one last look. All right. Well, if there aren't any questions, I would like to thank everybody for coming to the webinar and for hanging around to the very end here. You're welcome to contact me at any time through my email or give me a phone call. I'm more than willing to help you with whatever research or APA question you might have, and I wish you all the best in your research. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.